Hello and welcome to YNWA Transfer News, your ultimate source for all Liverpool FC transfer news. Our first news is this. Liverpool transfer news. Alexander Isak talks confirmed as Reds push for defender deal. Liverpool have already spent some serious cash in the transfer market this summer, but the Premier League champions could have more big deals up their sleeve. Before the window shuts on September 1st, Arne Slot and co. have added Jeremy Frimpong, Florian Wirtz, Milos Kerkez, and Hugo Ekitike to the team that won the title last year, with Georgi Mamardashvili also now on Merseyside after spending one final season in Spain with Valencia, and further reinforcements could be on the way in the coming days. Liverpool's interest in Alexander Isak has been well documented in recent weeks, and the Sweden international is still training alone at Newcastle after making it clear that he wants a move. There is also talk of a deal for Marc Guehi following negotiations with Crystal Palace over the England star earlier this month. The Reds are short at centre-back after sanctioning Jarell Quansah's move to Bayer Leverkusen earlier this summer. Howe confirms Isak talks. Eddie Howe has said that he did hold talks with Alexander Isak at the end of the 2024-25 campaign, but did not divulge whether or not he was aware of the player's desire to leave. Isak accused the club of breaking promises in an explosive social media statement this week. Newcastle responded with a statement of their own, which outlined that no club officials had promised the striker a move. When he was asked about the situation in a press conference on Friday, Howe said, "Yeah, me and Alex had conversations towards the end of the season. Yes, I am not going to sit here and deny that. I have always said that individual conversations are better off remaining private, but we had conversations at the end of the season. But I have had conversations with him near enough every day. That wouldn't be abnormal." Guehi transfer latest. Liverpool are still pushing to sign Marc Guehi before the transfer window shuts, after Steve Parish hinted Crystal Palace could sell their captain. Guehi could follow Eberechi Eze out of Selhurst Park with the attacking midfielder, agreeing to join Arsenal, and Mirror Football reported on Friday that the Reds are still hoping to clinch a deal for another of Palace's prized assets before the transfer deadline. Reds in Wharton chase. Spanish outlet AS claim that Liverpool are competing with Manchester City, Manchester United, and Real Madrid for Crystal Palace's Adam Wharton. There has been plenty of speculation around Wharton, 21, in recent months, following the impressive manner in which he has handled the step up from the Championship to the Premier League after joining Palace back in February 2024, with top clubs now circling. Liverpool transfer news as one last Isak bid expected, and Palace push for Guehi sale. The countdown to Newcastle United versus Liverpool is well and truly on, with a high-scoring affair expected at St. James Park. Both managers have also said they're expecting a hostile, electric atmosphere in the Northeast. That seems likely on the back of a summer in which the two clubs' transfer activities have been so intertwined. But despite all the speculation, Alexander Isak remains a Newcastle player, with Liverpool yet to return with a second bid for the want-away attacker after seeing a first rejected earlier this month. That situation could change quickly, according to a fresh report in the Chronicle. The outlet claims the feeling at both clubs will be different after Monday, when Isak can no longer line up against Newcastle. Well, for a few months at least, the Magpies, it is reported, have been keen to avoid Isak making his Liverpool debut on Monday, while the Merseyside club's second approach was hardly going to come in the build-up to the Reds' visit to St. James's Park. With the transfer deadline in sight, Liverpool is expected to make one last bid next week, which would still give Newcastle time to find a replacement. It comes after Eddie Howe admitted in Friday's press conference that the Isak drama looks like it is coming to an end, or it will come to an end pretty quickly. Meanwhile, the other transfer saga that continues to surround Liverpool is the pursuit of Marc Guehi. The Reds' interest has remained all summer, with the Reds looking to strengthen in an area of the pitch that looks less stable given Ibrahima Konaté's uncertain future Joe Gomez's injury record, and the summer exit of Jarell Quansah-Guehi, an England international who has a year remaining on his Crystal Palace contract, is seen by many at Anfield as the solution. If Mark Guehi wants to sign a new contract, then he can stay, the Eagles chairman Steve Parish told Channel 5 on Thursday night. It's a difficult situation. Everyone has to sell players to comply with the rules. That's a situation that we will have to look at in the next days. TBR Football now states that Parish is attempting to push Guehi towards Liverpool, with the defender unwilling to sign a new deal. Newcastle's Alexander, Isak transfer hope is divorced from reality as reality check issued. Jamie Carragher has branded Newcastle divorced from reality after claiming that Liverpool's $110 million offer for Alexander Isak was derisory. Isak is attempting to push through a move to Liverpool and issued a statement earlier this week accusing Newcastle of breaking promises. The reality is that promises were made and the club has known my position for a long time, Isak said. To now act as if these issues are only emerging is misleading. When promises are broken and trust is lost, the relationship can't continue. The club responded to Isak's statement, insisting that the conditions of a sale this summer have not transpired and that they do not foresee those conditions being met. Newcastle value Isak at 150 million, but Liverpool legend Carragher believes that would be too much. In his latest column for The Telegraph, Carragher said, "Obviously, I would like to see the Swedish striker become a Liverpool player, but not at any cost, and the suggestion that the first 110 million offer for Isak is derisory is divorced from reality. If Liverpool bid more than 130 million, it is too much. You would want Kylian Mbappe for the fee. From the moment Isak made his debut against Liverpool at Anfield, he has stood out, but there are concerns. Now, 25, he is yet to prove he has the durability of Salah. He has failed to start 36 league games over his 3 seasons in England, and 10 of his last 44 league goals were penalties. He would not be taking them at Anfield. Liverpool knew from the outset how tough it would be to convince Newcastle to sell. Once Newcastle qualified for the Champions League, my instinct was the door shut. Newcastle have the power to resist because Isak has 3 years to run, and they can also anticipate big earnings from a European campaign, making such a sale unnecessary. No matter what Isak wanted privately, there was a fair assumption it would be another 12 months before such a transfer was tolerable at St. James's Park. Signing a new deal with the written guarantees Isak claims were made verbally would have forced the move in 2026. Now it is carnage. Howe is currently without his best player, and reintegrating him has become more complicated after the understandably hostile reaction of Newcastle fans at Villa Park last weekend. Isak is currently training away from Newcastle's first team after missing their preseason tour of Asia, and he did not play in Newcastle's opener against Aston Villa, which ended as a 0-0 draw. Everton transfer verdict on hold as double deal, key to entire summer spending. This is the most important week in the new era of Everton so far. The transformation that promises to deliver so much for a club that has struggled for so long was always going to be a challenge. There will be plenty more challenges to come, even if the final days of the transfer window are considered a success. But if the right pieces are not found over the coming 10 days, the project will head into its first season incomplete. For all the mitigating circumstances, it would be impossible not to feel frustration if that was to be the case, particularly given so many of the needs yet to be addressed are ones that have been obvious for at least 12 months. Everton need options on the right. The situation at right back is a long-standing one years in the making. It was hoped Nathan Patterson would be the long-term successor to Seamus Coleman, but while his future could yet hold promise, his misfortune with injury has been so considerable it has to be taken into account when building a squad. Coleman remains, But Monday night's defeat at Leeds United showcased his value is now primarily in the talismanic leadership that has enabled him to save this group of players, time and again. He was the only fullback in the squad at Elland Road and did not play a minute across the back four. 12 months ago, Blues Chiefs decided to push the right-back problem into the future, believing the squad could muddle through. After a tough start, a season-opening red card for Ashley Young that led to stints in that position for Mason Holgate and youngster Roman Dixon, they just about got there, proving stubborn with a resurgent Young and then more expansive when David Moyes turned to center-back Jake O'Brien. That was then, however, when money was far tighter as the club entered the troubled final stages of the Farhad Moshiri era. Everton have greater financial and regulatory freedom now. Surely this is the time to find a player whose inclusion could restore balance to a side that wants to do more than enough. In fairness, the Blues entered this summer with this on the to-do list and very nearly scored an early success. The club believed Kenny Teat was heading north from Fulham until a last-ditch improvement in terms convinced him to stay at Craven Cottage. As disappointing as that was, that drama unfolded 2 months before deadline day, ample time for a plan B that is yet to materialize. A right back is not the priority right now, though. Frustrating as it would be to start a new era with an old problem, my biggest concern is the right wing. Again, Everton have been alive to this, and one of the stories of the summer is the long list of options the club has run through in this position. The hope is that Tyler Dibbling will be the answer to at least some of these problems, and Everton's stance, to wait for Southampton to return to the negotiating table, has been vindicated after the breakthrough in talks on Friday night. Getting that deal over the line would be a significant boost for this team. That is because one thing that is clear is the current squad does not offer a happy solution in this position. While O'Brien has shown he can do a solid job filling in on the right, it is impossible to avoid the evidence that the skills of Iliman Ndiaye, Carlos Alcaraz, and Dwight McNeil are all dramatically undermined on that flank. This was another problem that was visible long before the summer. The club relied on 2 loanees in this slot last year, and it quickly became apparent the option to buy one of them, Jesper Lindstrom, was too expensive given the influence he delivered on the pitch. If needed, there may be a case for persevering with Ndiaye, but he was the team's star last year from the left, and it would be a strange summer if the end product of the rebuild was to hamper his impact. That is why success in the Dibbling pursuit would be so welcome. There are other issues in the squad, namely depth at center midfield and the nagging doubt caused by the injuries suffered by Vitaly Mykolenko and Jarrad Branthwaite over the past 18 months. A left-sided defensive option would not be a ridiculous move, especially if Adam Asnew is considered too raw for a consistent senior berth, and if O'Brien ends up the first-choice right back again. Everton remain confident they will get the necessary business done before the end of the window. CEO Angus Kinnear has asked for judgment to come on September 2nd, not August 23rd, and is justified to make that plea. The moves so far show an awareness of what needs to happen, and there is evidence of efforts to address the biggest issues. The next few days could be a defining test for the new-look recruitment team. Moyes has not been backward in expressing his frustration at the state of play, and it is tough to see him being content with the struggle continuing beyond deadline day. Kinnear was right to ask for patience, because there is no escaping the reality this summer was going to be tough. The departure of a dozen senior players may have been necessary for the club to properly rebuild and to build back stronger. But there is a reason the claim Moyes faced the most significant squad reset of the Premier League era was a headline repeated through the early weeks of the summer. It did not help that the Blues already had such a threadbare squad after years of cost-cutting. The project could not solely focus on adding quality. Depth has also been a genuine requirement. The early priority was working through those whose contracts were expiring. That and securing Branthwaite to a new deal, stealing him away from the covetous eyes of lurking Champions League clubs. Few would argue that extending the stay of Idrissa Gueye, last season's players and supporters, Player of the Year, and securing Branthwaite to new terms were major successes. Retaining the influence and know-how of Coleman and Michael Keane also made sense. Then, of the business achieved so far, the two goalkeepers were a necessity, while Thierno Barry and Asnu are two pillars around which a future can be built, something Everton must do if they are to mount a sustained challenge on the European places. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall and Jack Grealish, meanwhile, offer quality this team has long missed, while Alcaraz produced genuine match-winning performances while on loan last season. While I understand the concerns heading into these final days of business, and the defeat at Leeds and nature of the performance were troubling, I do think it is too early to reach a conclusion on the summer to date. For all that Leeds deserved the win, I think that game plays out differently if one of Branthwaite or Mykolenko does not pick up an injury on the eve of the campaign, or if Tete had ended up in royal blue. A small change in any of those three situations could have made a big difference in that match. And the outstanding issues are so glaringly obvious, I do not think there is any complacency towards the need to address them before the transfer deadline. For all the concern about where the Blues may end up, it is worth looking at what has been achieved so far. The Branthwaite deal was a major success, and this side has more star quality than either of the squads that finished, points deductions aside, 13th in each of the past two campaigns. Dewsbury-Hall and Grealish mark a rise in creativity and talent that was sorely needed. Everton need the final pieces, and I think it would be fair to ask questions if some of them are not found in the coming days. They need another option in at least two of the three positions most problematic right now: right back, right wing, and central midfield. Failure would not only be disappointing, but would diminish the potential impact of a player of Grealish's ilk. He may be magic, but he can't cancel out the imbalance that was clear at Leeds. For now, there is time to go. I'm expecting business to go to the wire, and I think judgment should wait until then. Slot hints at Endo or Szoboszlai playing right back. Liverpool boss Arne Slot suggested midfielders Wataru Endo or Dominik Szoboszlai could step into a right-back role at Newcastle on Monday night, with Jeremy Frimpong revealed to be out until after the September international break with a hamstring issue and Connor Bradley only returning to first-team training on Thursday. Liverpool have been hit with two injuries in that position. Joe Gomez, who could play there, is currently returning from a long-term injury himself, although did come on against Bournemouth on Friday night, while Curtis Jones has played the role before, while new centre-back signing Giovanni Leone has also trained with the first team. But Slot named Endo and Szoboszlai as options. Jeremy has a very positive injury record. Connor has been out once or twice last season, said Slot. These things happen in a season. We have only at the moment two injuries. Unfortunately, it's two for the same position. The good thing is some others can play in that position as well. Wataru Endo played in that position for a few minutes. Dominik Szoboszlai already played in that position. There are other options we can explore. Joe Gomez is definitely one of them, but for him to already play 20 minutes, that was already quite a lot. I wouldn't say he had a setback, but he wasn't able to train 3 days in a row completely with the team. It's completely normal if you've been out for so long and all of a sudden the manager needs you for 20 minutes. He's training with the team, so let's see where he is on Monday, if he can be involved in the team or if he can even start. But there are other options as well. You cannot prepare for two injuries in one position. It would be stupid for us to have 3 fullbacks or 5 left-backs, although we have 3 left-backs. Thank you for watching. Like and comment, subscribe.